SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Today, we're unravelling two major stories making waves across different continents. First, we head to the United Kingdom, where the land-based gambling sector is vigorously defending its player safety standards and attempting to debunk what its industry body calls myths surrounding its operations. We'll examine how BACTA President John Bollum has fired back at a recent BBC investigation and addressed common criticisms levelled at adult gaming centres. Then, we'll shift our focus to South America, where a sensational lottery scandal has rocked Colombia. We'll delve into the highly suspicious jackpot win in Medellin lottery and the subsequent high-level investigations and political reactions it has triggered. My name is James Ross, multimedia editor at SBC. I'm joined today with Viktor, the senior journalist at SBC News. Welcome, Vic. You okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me today, James. Nice to have you back. You've been away for some time, but yeah, glad to see you recovering from a recent injury.
Yeah, we'll say, I don't like using the word coccyx, but fracturing the tailbone was pretty bad. Pretty funny situation, but it involved a helter-skelter, my son, and a regret of going down a slide.
Yeah, well, that's, would you recommend anybody doing it? No? Okay, there you go.
No, not a chance. I'd rather talk about the BBC.
Okay.
And that kind of is going to be our starting point for the first half of this conversation. This investigation, Vic, give us the lowdown of what's happened.
So an undercover BBC reporter tried investigating whether or not they can access some adult gaming centers in South England while being on the self-exclusion list. Turns out, according to the BBC, that they actually were able to do that, which raised concerns about the player safety measures in place in such physical venues.
Mm-hmm. And John Bollum, the president of BACTA, which is the UK industry trade body, they criticised the BBC investigation into the land-based player safety standards and called it unrepresentative. You just dive a bit more into the industry response and obviously BACTA's.
Yeah, like you said, Bollum dug into this investigation straight away. Obviously, he's the president of BACTA, which is the trade body representing the land-based sector in the UK. So it was kind of given that he would step in and defend its members by calling the investigation unrepresentative. We can understand why he used this wording because really the venues that were visited were just a handful in an isolated region in South England. So they are in no way representative of the wider land-based industry in the UK. However, while criticizing the investigation, Bollum did not deny it outright. He did not say that it wasn't true. He instead called for unity within the sector to come together in such situations where his quote was, "When we do mistakes, we have to act together to address them in a quick manner." So while not outright denying it, he has defended the industry, saying that it is on par with the highest standards in the UK, and they should act together in the face of such challenges to prove their critics wrong, that the sector is actually doing everything it can to protect their players.
Yeah, he did emphasise the point that they need to tighten all loopholes, have vigilant supervision, and like you've mentioned, swift action without hesitation. You also mentioned like the undercover journalist, or investigative journalist, whichever way you want to call them, only targeted kind of areas or adult gaming centres in the south. What are the criticisms that adult gaming centres have in kind of poverty areas?
Well, in the last kind of few months, there's been a lot of debate going on in the public about adult gaming centers and land-based casinos being stationed in areas that are kind of known to be poverty-stricken. This is obviously coming from critics of the industry. John Bollum addressed this by saying that such venues are located on high streets because this is where the customers want them. They are more easily accessible, and when you get your paycheck at the end of every month, you're the only person to decide what to do with it. And it is, if you want to spend it on gambling, which is a entertainment form, you're free to do so, and the industry is obligated to make it as easy as possible for you. So that is what Bollum's main argument was. One of the main arguments, that venues are on high streets because of customers, because of convenience. And another key point was raised by the critics was that such venues are usually open during the late times of the day, night hours, etc. And critics have argued that this is done with only financial profit in mind. However, Bollum again struck back by saying that many of the UK workers are night shift workers. So if that's the only time when they can enjoy their favorite pastime. Yeah.
You mentioned Bollum striking back. There's also been pushback as well from local governments. And that's kind of been a significant challenge recently from the AGC. And that came from a joint letter by 39 local governments to the DCMS. Can you just give us a bit more information on that?
Yeah, that's where the criticism kind of started off. I think it was in April, where a total of 39 councils co-signed a letter directed to DCMS Secretary Liz and Nancy to call for increased controls in the hands of local government, because what they said is that they're concerned about the exact points that Bollum raised, venues being located in poverty-stricken areas. So what they asked for is for the government to give them more controls in the hands of the mayors, particularly when it comes to planning applications.
But how hard is this now? Because we already know the Gambling Act Review white paper, they're already actively implementing things via the recommendations that have been. How hard is it now to kind of implement some of these complaints?
Yeah,
the process is ongoing.
It's going to be a difficult one to actually get any action on transferring more powers to local governments. At the moment, the UK is currently in the process of implementing recommendations that are set out in the Gambling Act Review white paper, which are already a few papers long. And in order to fit them somewhere, the government would have to, pause what they're doing to implement what the councils have called for. So my guess is that we won't see anything particular moving in that direction until the Gambling Act Review has been fully implemented. However, there would be potentially a new political debate further on, as 39 councils is not a small number. Obviously, the outcry is a large scale, so it will be very difficult to ignore by policymakers.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. That's all we've got time for this first half of the podcast. For anyone who is interested to read more about the BBC investigation and BACTA's response, we will leave a link to SBC News and iGaming Experts articles in the description below. But we're going to take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Colombian lottery.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
Welcome back. We're going to start in South America. We're going to go Colombia, lottery scandal, we'll call it. Just give us a brief overview first of what's been going on.
There's a lottery called the Medellin Lottery over there, and it is a state-run lottery. It is run by one of the Colombia states. And it has been embroiled in some quite big controversy over a draw that it ran for the month of the woman, which is a celebratory month over in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
But this has sparked quite a lot of controversy.
Mm-hmm. And the Medellin lottery has been placed under audit.
Yep.
Why?
So first of all, it's a very high profile situation because the audit was ordered directly by Colombia's gambling regulator called Juegos,
Mm-hmm.
and it is being led by the National Council for Games of Luck and Chance, which is advisory body on gambling policies.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a high-profile audit. The reason why is because the winner of the draw that I previously mentioned, the jackpot was £3 million. I should add here. The winning ticket ended up with the wife of the lottery's deputy boss.
It's sorry, I'm going to pronounce this really wrong. Luisa Jaramillo, correct?
I will trust you on that one. But yeah, she was the wife of the deputy boss of the Medellin lottery, and you can see why her winning the £3 million jackpot would raise some eyebrows all around.
Mm-hmm. And what's been the fallout from this controversy? Because, like I said, it's suspicious at best.
Yeah, well, the Col Juegos, the regulator again, they've ordered on-site investigation. So the Council for Games of Luck and Chance are heading towards Medellin. This is the second biggest city in Colombia where the lottery's headquarters are located, to investigate on site. The wider fallout from this was kind of the deputy manager of the lottery, essentially.
Ruben Calixas?
Yes.
I don't need to pronounce that one, but yeah.
He essentially resigned hours after his wife won the lottery. The media obviously picked up on this, and reports spread like wildfire, with media representatives, questioning the integrity of the lottery. So he put in his resignation the same day when the ticket was won. And in addition, it's sort of a wider impact. The Colombia's own president, Gustavo Petro, who has 8.2 million followers on Twitter, shared the story on his account, asking if the story is true, and urging that if it is, urging disciplinary
courts should provide us with information.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So, reaching the president means that it's quite critical, and obviously authorities will want to investigate further and kind of put out any questions about the lottery and its integrity, because it's overall a bad look if you see it from the side. Although we have to say coincidences happen. There's his wife.
Some coincidences happen.
Well, they do happen, and this woman might have been the luckiest woman on that day, but it certainly doesn't happen often. So we'll be keeping track on the developments there.
Mm-hmm. This kind of controversies kind of come during a turbulent time with Colombia, and I think it's kind of quite important to mention, because we are talking about the Colombian market, because a budget proposal is actually expected at the end of July, where the Ministry of Finance intends to maintain a 19% VAT levy, which was initially introduced as a temporary measure to kind of stabilize inflation rates. So to have this controversy just before this proposal comes, it's a difficult time for the Colombian market. One thing I want to ask, Vic, is this an isolated case?
Well, surprisingly, over the last 6 months since the year started, we've seen a surprising amount of lottery controversies around the globe, really, not only in Colombia. First, we had a lottery blunder back in Bulgaria, my home country, where a game was televised live on national TV, and a number was drawn in a game where that number shouldn't have been. So once that happened, they were forced to do a second draw, and if you were the one Bulgarian who scored all the rest of the numbers correctly, and then this happens, you can understand why you would be very mad about it. And again, the integrity of the lottery came into question. The national lottery, most importantly, it's important to pinpoint, and that was in Europe. In South Africa specifically, we have another development that is still ongoing. There's for anyone interested, they can go on Lottery Daily to kind of follow the timeline of it, because we've been covering it for almost 2 months now, and it's still an ongoing development. The tender for the national lottery license was up for grabbing. It's a very lucrative opportunity. It runs for 8 years. The previous license holder was excluded from participating in that tender because they overstayed with 2 years, so they held the license for a total of 10 years, which automatically excluded them from the tender process. Then in the last second, the minister, Parkstow, who is in charge of this whole process, decided to change the rules and instead of granting the 8-year license, do a 12-month buffer license instead, arguing that the infrastructure needs to be in place for the next incumbent to take the reins. And this 12-month buffer was needed in order to achieve that. The temporary license holder that the minister essentially chose was a company that was connected to the previous license holder who was excluded. I know it's very, very convoluted, but you can see how this has impacted the South Africans' perception of their own lottery. And all of these cases, Colombia, Europe, and Africa, kind of raise the question of how many more lotteries around the world are actually run worse than it seems.
I was going to put a lucky dip on the Euro Millions tonight, Vic, but you put doubt in my mind now. That's everything we've got time for today on this episode of iGaming Daily. Again, anything that we've discussed in this episode, we will leave links to in the description below. But Viktor, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. This has been iGaming Daily. I've been James Ross, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.